Welcome to the iPads in Autism webinar. Tonight's webinar is entitled iPads and Autism. This evening, if you require technical support, you can call Linda on the number on the screen, 0403 914 326, or you can email lhunt@autismspectrum.org.au. Welcome. We've got a lot of people attending the webinar this evening, and we look forward to sharing some great things with you. Thanks for joining us. I know some of you are listening through your computer or your device, and some have dialed in. With a number of participants we're expecting, the sound quality might be better if you dial in on 1-800-765-099. 1-800-765-099. Then you enter the code 69542-012#. Thanks for putting that in the text box, Craig. Okay, I'll introduce you to our facilitators. My name is Liz Watson, and my role with Positive Partnerships is as the National Projects Officer. We've also got Craig Smith with us tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Just testing my sound. Can someone let me know if you can hear my voice in the text box? Awesome. Hey, everybody. So I'm also with Positive Partnerships as a National Coordinator and have been a classroom teacher at the Aspect Hunter School for children with autism for about 13 years now, and have been using the iPad for about 8 of those 13 years. So I'm looking forward to sharing what we do with it across the next hour. I'll pass over to Heath Wild.
Hi everyone. First of all, just a test. Can you hear me? Make sure it's all working fine. Yeah, awesome. So look, yeah, I'm a team leader with Positive Partnerships, and like Craig, I come from the Aspect Hunter School up there in Newcastle, and have spent a number of years exploring how iPads and technology can be used to engage students in their learning. So looking forward to sharing some of what we've learned along the way with you all tonight.
Thanks, boys. Okay, so we'd like to begin by acknowledging country. We begin by acknowledging and paying our respects to the traditional custodian of the country we meet on today. We pay tribute to them and their elders, both past and present, and to future leaders. We welcome all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us tonight. Some of you may already have participated in the webinar, and for others this may be a new experience. There are a few tools that you can access that we'll explore now. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see your name. Looking now to the bottom of the screen, you'll see an icon of a person. You click on the menu to change your icon to a few different options. You can see that Heath, Craig and I have got smiley faces, Linda's got a cup of coffee, and Julie's found her smiley face. So's Megan. That's so Suzanne. You may want to change your icon to a cup of coffee or a smiley face if you're happy to be joining us tonight. Just above the icon is a text box. Throughout the webinar, you are welcome to type questions or comments or feedback for other participants in the text box. There will be times during the webinar that we will ask you to share your thoughts or experiences, and we encourage you to interact by typing into the text box. Please be mindful that a webinar is a unique experience. It's different to learning and sharing face-to-face. Give yourself this hour to be present and focused. It's easy to get distracted, so we encourage you to make the most of this opportunity. At times, there may be moments of silence for you to think and reflect on what's being said. We will not be able to answer all questions and find all solutions in the hour session. We don't come from an expert model, however, we hope that you may use the ideas generated, information and tools shared, and apply them as relevant to you following the webinar. We value the fact that parents and staff know their children better than anyone. A link to a recording of this webinar will be available on the website in a few days' time. Resources and links shared tonight will also be emailed to you. Please make the most of this time in the best way possible for you, and we hope that you walk away with at least one new learning, idea or strategy. Now, let's learn a little bit about you. People put up a poll and we want to know what state or territory are you dialing in from. You've already noticed we've got someone from Singapore. New South Wales seems to be tipping the scales heavily at 57%. Queensland's got a strong rating at 18%. We've got 1% from Tasmania and Western Australia and ACT. Welcome to you. Great to have all the states represented. Welcome, everybody. We do need to make it international.
Yes, need to add an international option. Thank you for our international guests. We're really excited about this webinar. And welcome from India. Fantastic. We are going to spend the rest of this webinar showing you all the things that we love about using technology really well. We want to show you real classroom examples, apps that we use in our practice, and we want to show you the way in which we link the tools, link the iPad app, link the technology to the needs of our young people with autism. We want to show you how particular apps can link to particular characteristics and particular needs that kids have. We also want to show you different learning experiences for our young people that can be generated through the technology. So we're really, really keen to show you those real examples. And the other thing that we want to do is we're going to send out to everybody after the webinar, we're going to send out these slides. So don't worry too much if you're unable to get all the notes down or you think you missed something. We will send you the slides. The webinar itself is being recorded, so there will be a copy of the webinar that you can watch back later. And we're also going to send out a list of all the apps, so you'll be able to follow along. And then if there's anything that stands out for you that is a useful app, you can just use the document. And so we will email that out to everybody in the next couple of days after the webinar's over. So a little transition there. Here we go. Okay, so like I said in the introduction, we've been using iPads with students on the autism spectrum for about 8 years now. The iPad itself is 8 years old. Funny to think that it is. It's almost, I think the iPhone just reached its 10 year last year, didn't it? So they have been around for quite a while now, but we're still learning all the time about the best way to use these sorts of technologies with our kids. I make it a habit that I only use things in my classroom that actually work for my students, so we're really keen to just focus on really good evidence-based stuff with this tech. And the best ways to use these different apps in the classroom. I thought I'd start with just a little example, a bit of story, that, we early on, we realized that the iPad was, at its core, just like a canvas of infinite creative possibility. It allowed us to teach subject matter to our kids in ways that were really relevant to our students, and that tapped into their strengths and interests in really valuable ways. So this is one example that I'm going to show you using one of our most beloved games, Minecraft. I don't know if anyone in the text box would just like to indicate if their student or their child or anyone has had a passion for Minecraft on their in their family or their classroom. Okay, yes, it's best. So now it's probably Fortnite. But Minecraft for a long time there was just the absolute bee's knees. And we went through, I remember like in April, and we were going to be doing Anzac Day in the classroom where we're going to be teaching Anzac Day. And some of the kids were interested, but most weren't. Anzac Day just wasn't something that a lot of our kids were into. It wasn't one of their interests. So we wanted to utilise their strengths and interests. So we used their love of Minecraft to think, well, how could we link this on the iPad to learning about Anzac Day? So the first thing that we said was, let's find a photo of Anzac Cove, where the Anzacs landed. And now let's have a look at the photo. Let's have a look at the land features. And then we said, well, let's go into Minecraft now and let's sculpt an area that looks very similar to the Anzac Cove that we saw in those photos. And so we talked about land formations, the environment, numeracy, mapping skills, and, the students use their strength and interest in Minecraft with the iPad in their hands to create these Anzac worlds. And then we took the original photographs that we found of Anzac Cove and we overlaid those photographs with the Minecraft world that the kids had made. And suddenly we have this, really interesting piece of content that the kids had made that connected them to learning about Anzac Day in a way that, Anzac campaign, in a way that they'd never previously thought about it. For some kids who would otherwise have not really wanted to engage in that lesson, we gave them an opportunity to engage and learn about the subject matter through their strength and interest that we then used the iPad in order to do. Now, if you are someone who likes research, if you're someone who is interested, or the sound's not clear, I'm just checking. I'm sorry, I'm not wondering if I'm talking too fast. I hope the sound could try phone, yeah. Like Suzanne said, maybe try the phone number if that's a bit clearer. If you're someone who's into research, if you go to scholar.google.com or Google Scholar and type in iPad and autism, there is so much research in the past couple of years that has come out about the way that iPads and autism are connected and the sorts of studies that are being done. And to summarise, I guess, the core findings that are coming out of this research, it is our young people with autism are very visual learners. We know they're very visual. We use a lot of visuals in our classroom. It's often a core way in which we teach is visually. And the iPad is, at its core, a very visual tool. It's almost entirely visual. That's what it is. And the other thing is, it's something that really naturally engages with kids, so they have a real natural resonance with the technology, particularly visual tech like the iPad. So it's not often something that you'd hear children groan when you say it's time to use the iPad or we're going to use the iPad for this. It's something that is often a natural source of engagement. And it is, like I often describe it, the iPad is like a Swiss army knife of a device. It just does so many things in one. These days we take that for granted a bit. I mean, we think about when you used to have to take a photo of something and then you'd use a digital camera and you have to get the SD card out and then you put the SD card in your computer and then you'd email it off to someone. And now we're just so used to getting our phones and taking a photo, sending it to someone or putting it up on the internet. You do everything within the one device now. So we're making music, we're making movies, we're writing, it's an everything in one. And for our kids, it can be, a tool that connects with them on many different levels. I'm going to pass to Heath now to talk about the way we're going to structure the rest of this webinar according to the Positive Partnerships Planning Matrix.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I suppose there is so much out there in terms of what's available in the technological world, but what we're going to use is we're going to use the framework of the planning matrix to explore how technology can be used as a strategy to address the impacts that a young person's autism can have on their learning and their ability to engage with others in their environment. So the planning matrix is a tool that's been developed by Positive Partnerships, and it's a great and very versatile resource. So if you're not familiar with it, or you'd like to refresh your knowledge, then I encourage you to check out the Positive Partnerships website, which has an online learning module, an introduction to the planning matrix, and it has a variety of resources that can be accessed and downloaded to help you develop your understanding and ability to implement the matrix to best support the young people that you support.
Excellent, thank you, Heath. So the first characteristic, or the first part of autism that we're going to talk about in linking with apps is around communication. So there's 5 apps here. We're not going to have time to go into each of them in depth. We are going to just give a sampling of each, and then you can further explore the ones that are relevant to you as you see fit. So we've got a couple of apps up there. We've got LAMP. LAMP stands for Language Acquisition Motor Planning, and LAMP and the app next to it, ProLoco to Go, they are both what we call AAC apps. So they are assistive and augmentative communication apps. So those are apps in which children or young people who have expressive language needs, in which they might need to communicate with a tool other than, say, voice or written language, they can use those iPad apps to do so. And I'll show you a screenshot of one shortly. I'm also going to talk about choice work. I'll show you a screenshot of that. Bitsboard is a really great app in which you can put, well, it's making flashcards effectively. It's an app that lets you make your own visual flashcards, and Snapscene I'm going to show you in a moment. I'm going to go through some screenshots of some of those apps. Choice work is my favourite app in the entire world. If I can be completely biased, I just love this app, and it's the one that I share most frequently. Choice work lets you create visual schedules really easily. So it lets you, it has its own clip art, its own images that it comes with, so you can pop those in and make your own visuals. You can also take photographs with your iPad. You can add film, so you can record film with the iPad as well and make those schedules. And then you can, the students can slide the visuals across to the all done column and work their way through that list. It's got other functions as well, but if you are after a one-stop shop in terms of how to create visual schedules on the go and choice boards and things like that, Choice Work is totally cool. And it lets you record your own voice. It's highly personable, highly personalizable. It's also personable, but it is personalizable. ProLoco to Go is one of those apps that I mentioned earlier that are an assistive and augmentative communication app. So the question, sorry, from Karen there, is Choice Work expensive? It's about $5. I believe the going price is $5 or $6 at the moment for that app. Good question. Karen, oh, sorry, $10.99. Maybe I bought it on sale. Thank you very much, Lenise. Cheapest chips, maybe premium chips, but still, yes, $11 for Choice Work. ProLoco to Go is a specialised language app. It's something that we recommend that you buy if you are using it in conjunction with a speech therapist or a professional who's fluent at teaching the acquisition of language to children. If you are using it with a specialist like that, it is an incredibly powerful app in terms of providing a language tool for children to use. So they create sentences using the app, and then it says them out loud. You can add your own visuals, add your own words in, record your voice. Very, very powerful tool. Snapscene Oh yes, for those people who've just found the price of Proloco to go, it is a specialised communication app. So it is one that you don't just buy on a whim. It is something that you use in conjunction with therapy. You know, when you think about how much you pay for speech therapy and those sorts of services, I think it fits within that space. It's definitely the most expensive app in the whole presentation, but it is also the one that you should use in conjunction with a therapist. Snapscene is an app that I've become very fond of. It's an app in which you can take a photograph of any scene and then you can circle and create little hotspots on the page that when you tap the child's face, or you can, so on this example, you see the children playing with a ball, you can draw a circle over the face, you can draw a circle over the ball, and then you can record your voice and you can put text there. So when you tap the child's face, or when you tap the ball, it says those things out loud. So it can be a really good visual tool to help children to relate to a particular scene that you photograph and use. For some of those people who are in the text box are just saying can't find those apps in the App Store, I will find the links for them and put them in the document that I send out after the webinar. So they can sometimes be under a slightly different name or they change over time. So I'll make sure that I get those to you to be sent out after the webinar. I want to share a few social interaction apps now. And these are apps that are used to explicitly teach social skills in the classroom. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples up close. We've got Secret Agent Society. That's a program that was born out of Queensland. It's a program that teaches social skills for young people with autism. It comes with a whole resource kit, but there is a standalone app that walks students through understanding facial expression and body language and a lot of social cues that are demonstrated at school. We've also got an app called the Social Express. That's a similar app. It goes through different social situations. So it might show a young man talking to a young lady, and the young lady has a particular facial expression perhaps, or particular body language, and up on the screen it gives you a little prompt to say, how do you think she's feeling? And then you can choose from multiple choices, and it goes through little scenarios to help children practice and think about different social situations. And it's got a whole curriculum that's attached to it as well, so you can go through and learn more about the way to use it in the classroom or at home. We've also got the Social Detectives. That's a similar app. It's got lessons and little examples about social cues and social skills that kids can learn. Some of the ones I'm going to show you up close is this Circles app and some of the Toka Boka apps. So I'm just going to go on to the slide now. Kim said in the text box she's heard a few parents recommend Circles. So this is what Circles looks like. Natasha Perry there, Love Circle Detective. Nice to see you on here, Tash. So the Circles app is an app that teaches different levels of intimacy, different levels of closeness that a child has with others in their world. And you may have seen this as part of its own curriculum, its own social program. So it teaches things like, who is it appropriate for me to give a hug to? Who's in my hug circle? And then you put in the photograph. So in the app you can add photographs of people who you give a hug to. So mum and dad, perhaps, grandma, grandpa, aunties and uncle. And then it's like, well, who would you just wave to? Who would you just give a wave across the street to or across the classroom? And then you take photos of those people. And so you add those to another circle. And you end up having these circles of intimacy from the very personal through to the how you just would greet anyone on the street. And so it goes out those different concentric circles. So very useful. I've used it with students who need a little bit of extra support with social boundaries or knowing how to interact with different people in their world. It's been very useful. The other app that I'd like to talk about, and this is part of, I guess, a series of apps. This is just one that I've chosen, but if you've ever seen the Toka Boka app, which I'll type in the text box just in case you want to know how that's said, Toka Boka make all these playful apps. They don't ever have ads. They don't have silly little tricks in them to get you to buy more things. They're just very simple, but they're all very social. And there's a series of them called Toka Life. So you've got Toka Life City, Toka Life Town, Toka Life Vacation, and what they are these little situations where you can role play things in real environments. You can have your character move around the shop, say, and they can interact and buy things at the shop, and they can go into the town and do bits and pieces. And I sometimes describe it as like Grand Theft Auto, but for 5-year-olds. It's something that you can do anything in these towns, but it's very socially appropriate. You can learn all different social cues. So I highly recommend the Toka Life range on the App Store. I'm going to pass over to Heath to talk about some apps that tap into the behaviour space now.
Excellent. Thanks, Craig. And we'll see another example of one of those Toka apps, I think Toka School, pop up later on. So look, as we look at some apps to support behaviour, I guess it's important to say that our approach to understanding behaviour is that the better we're able to understand a person's behaviour, well then the better place we are to be able to support that person. So we're going to have a look at a couple of apps now that can either help us to identify and understand the purpose of someone's behaviour, or to assist the young person so that they may develop greater awareness around their own behaviour. So the first one we're going to have a look at is Behaviour Snap. Now this is an app that provides observation templates that can be customised to suit a particular person and their settings. It also allows these observations to be easily collected and communicated with other people that are in that individual's learning support team. So it's applicable to both home and school settings, and one that would recommend for data collection purposes. I think it's free for a small number of observations, maybe a dozen or so students that can be used for free. And then if you think it's worthwhile, well, then there's different subscription options available to you. Mood Meter is a fantastic app for allowing individuals to develop awareness of their own emotional world. It asks a person to identify how they are feeling and then prompts them to develop self-regulation skills by providing actions that they can take to move towards a calmer state of being. It uses a very visual interface that you can see there on the screen with the different colours and the words that make up a matrix of the emotional landscape. And the colours that it uses is also compatible with the Zones of Regulation program, which we're going to have a look at in just a minute. Look, I'd say that it does require a level of literacy around the primary or high school age, but really that's sort of perfect for those kids that are familiar with Zones of Regulation, and as they grow up they can transition to an app like this. So really fantastic for developing a young person's emotional language. As I said, these two apps, the next two apps come from the Zones of Regulation program. The first one is the Zones of Regulation app itself, which allows students to navigate through an environment, and along the way they explore emotions and are prompted to answer questions and drag and drop different visuals there into the appropriate zones. So look, it really serves as a great introduction to the Zones program, and it can be done by a student independently as well as alongside an educator or parent, so that there's that shared language and understanding of emotional regulation to be developed. The next one is also a Zones of Regulation app, but this one offers a simple yet very effective tool to allow students to monitor and record their emotions throughout the day. I like how it shows visually what a day can look like, and importantly it shows that a student moves through different emotions. You know, some of those more intense emotions can become a bit all-consuming, and you know, when a child gets picked up at the end of the day or towards the end of the day, they may have very strong feelings and just feel like that their whole day was consumed by this very intense emotion. But an app such as this shows them that they do move through the different emotions throughout the day. So, look, it can be adapted and customised to suit a particular young person's day-to-day routines and settings at school. So, yeah, we'd very much recommend the Exploring Emotions one. It's great, and it also collates, you know, they can do a graph every day, and then it allows you to collate all that information and present it in a very visual manner. The last one for behaviour is called Habitica, and I love this one because it's one that adopts a very gamified approach to motivating an individual to make positive choices throughout the day. So you've got the flexibility to identify the activities you would like to include as part of your daily practice, and as you tick these off, you earn rewards. So it's a fun and engaging way in which to identify and develop positive habits and goals, and it's fantastic, one that can be used again across school and home. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. Habitica. We'll have a look at some apps now that are great for assisting with sensory processing needs of a young person. There's 3 apps and then one other resource as well that we'll look at. The Go Noodle is an app that provides a large range of video resources to engage students in sensory and movement-based activities. It's similar to a YouTube-type platform in that it offers lots of video resources there, but it's solely focused on sensory processing and movement, and it's one that you can feel very safe allowing your child to explore. So you can see in the visual on the screen that you can select videos based upon the needs of a student. So it's great for helping them to identify how they're feeling and then what they need. So perfect for home and school again. And the website of Go Noodle has a bunch of ideas, like a large range of resources that can help you how it can be best used for either an individual or small and whole class groups. So Go Noodle, and I know it is very popular in schools. And Craig's got Smiley Minds on there, yep. So that's the next one we're going to look at. It offers a wide variety of mindfulness activities, lessons and guided meditations for students. And look, the Smiling Mind people have even developed a mindfulness curriculum that's matched to the Australian curriculum outcomes as well, which is fantastic. And it also, students can download a mindfulness journey so that they can track their journey through using the app to reflect on how it's helping them to best regulate their emotional needs and state. So it really encourages and assists with emotional regulation and self-awareness. As you can see on the screen there, before doing the activity, it'll just prompt students to ask how they're feeling around being happy or content or alert. And then once they finish that meditation, again, it will ask them to reflect on how they're doing. The next one is Dexteria. Now, this is just one of a couple of apps that are offered by these developers. So this one promotes fine motor skills development to students. They're focusing on building strength and control and dexterity through a whole variety of different multi-touch activities on the iPad. And it also tracks the students' progress and allows you to see how they're developing, which is great. So you can see on the screen they've got letter writing based ones, but also more fun ones where they're developing their pencil grip by being able to pinch the crabs, and a whole bunch of other ones there where they have to pop chilies and things like that. So Dexteria is great for that fine motor control development. Now, the last resource, it isn't an app. It's not an app, but it's just such a great technological resource that it really deserves to be mentioned. So Makey is just a small device that you plug into a computer by a USB cord, and it's like almost like a little game controller from a Nintendo SNES or something like that. But how you use it is only restricted by your imagination. So you can turn everyday objects into touchpads. So if you want to help students to overcome some of their tactile defensive sensory needs, or to help them overcome food hesitations, then this is a very engaging way in which to do it. So with the Makey, you can make music with fruit, which you can see on the screen there. And there's also, you can turn stairs into a piano as well and recreate the scene big, if that's what you like. Or you can also create water bucket-based dance controllers. It's just the possibilities of it are limitless. And their website has a fantastic amount of different projects that people have created and made. It's very much a sharing community. Natasha, the Makey is roughly about $50 for that little controller and all the cords that you see there. So in terms of what it can do and how engaging you can make it, I think it's really good value. But yeah, if you want to see what you can do with it, I'd say jump on their website because they have a whole bunch of videos that show a bunch of fantastic things that people are doing with it. Okay, so
Hey, can I talk about Makey for a sec?
Oh, go for it. I know it's a favourite of yours, so go for it.
I love it so much. It's the best use of bananas that you'll ever find. If you thought they were just for eating, they are. You can play piano with them. You can activate sound and colour, but you can really plug Makey into anything that conducts electricity. So pencils, lead pencils. We get our kids to draw themselves with lead pencils, and then we connect one of the little alligator clips from Makey to the little person that they've drawn of themselves, and then with the computer we can record their voice, and when their finger touches the little pencil version of themselves that they've drawn, the computer says their name out loud. I know that all might sound a bit fanciful over the phone, but there are so many YouTube tutorials, and on Twitter, if you type in Makey, you'll just, the thing will almost melt down in terms of how many good activities there are out there. So, yeah, I just wanted to jump on the back of the slide there to say how much I really love the potential of that as a sensory tool. Okay, information processing and learning styles. These are a couple of my favourite apps for executive functioning skills and study skills, organisational skills. I use these four in my own life every day, but they are also great tools for our students. So they've got Evernote, and I'm going to show you a bit more closely. Trello, I'll show a bit more closely as well. The ones I don't go as deep into are the following, which is Noisealo. Noisealo is an app. It's also just a website. All these are actually apps and websites on this page. They're all free. And Noisealo lets you pick sounds that you might like to have playing in the background while you're doing some work. You can choose from the crackling of a fireplace or the soft downfall of rain or lightning and thunder in the distance or just white noise, and it just plays them very softly. You can have them on your iPad, you can have them on your computer, and it just plays background sound that can help students get into a really focused, relaxed state. So really big Noisealo. And Pomodoro, the final app I've got there, Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, and there's a particular time management style that uses Pomodoro timers. And the idea is that one Pomodoro is 20 minutes. So if you think to yourself, how long is this task going to take? And the idea is to get students to think about how long a task should take. Is it going to be one Pomodoro? Is it going to be two Pomodoros? And then you set the Pomodoro timer and it counts down. So it's like a timer app for students to use, but it uses these 20-minute increments of time. It's worth checking out to have a look at Pomodoro. I'm just going to show you Evernote. Particularly Evernote's a really great note-taking app. So you've got, it's basically notepads. It's like little notepads on the screen. You can type, you can draw with your finger, you can record audio, however you want to input information, Evernote lets you do it. And it lets you sync your notepads across devices. So a student might have their iPad, they keep notes in the classroom on their iPad, it syncs it up to the cloud, and then on their computer at home, they'll have all their notes there waiting for them. Or if you're a parent, you might want to have access to your child's notes, so you can have them synced to your phone, and then you can see the sorts of projects that they're working on at school or the sorts of things they might need a bit more support with homework. Yes, Liz, Evernote crosses between Android and iPad, computer, whatever version of Evernote you're using, it syncs across all of them. So it's very useful for that. Trello is like, the best way to think of it is like if you've got a cork board on the wall and you put little notes up on the cork board to help to organize your thoughts. And you can do anything, like you can organize yourself in any way. The way that I've got on the screen now is how I use Trello. I've got 3 columns. One column says now, the next column says next, and the final column says then. And this is to help students to prioritize how they're going to approach particular parts of a project that they have. So say they've got a big project, say they're in late primary school or they're in high school, they've got a multi-part project and they need to have a way to help to scaffold how they're going to complete that task. They say, right, what do I need to do right now? What are the initial things I need to do? You write all of those into little cards under the now column. Now, what do I need to do next? What is going to be like a bit further down the track? I'm going to put those in the next column. And then, what's the final step of the task or something that's a bit down the line? I'll put my little tags in that column too. You can also have things like, what am I working on now? What's finished? You can just organize it in any way you'd like. You can invite people to collaborate on your little corkboard there. So you can have, again, if it's your child, you could be invited in to share the board. The teacher might be invited in to help them to plan their projects. And Trello is used in workplaces. Like Trello is an industry standard app now across work environments. So if you learn how to use it in primary school, in high school, you're very well set up for knowing how to use it once you get out into the office environment or whatever sort of workplace follows. So it's very neat. I'll pass to Heath. He's going to talk about the way that Universal Design for Learning connects with our technology.
Great, thanks, Craig. So look, Universal Design for Learning is a framework that seeks to remove the barriers that may stop a young person from being able to engage and thrive in their learning. So it explores the multiple ways in which students can be engaged in their learning, how to best communicate instructions, and provide a variety of ways in which students can demonstrate and express their learning. And look, I really do think that the iPad is a powerful tool to promote the ideals of Universal Design for Learning because it's just so flexible. I think we saw earlier with the example Craig shared of how Minecraft was used with the pictures of the Anzac Cove there. That's just one example of many ways in which students' interests can be used on the iPad. And just there's such a variety of apps and different things available on the iPad that really appeal to students' interests. That I think it's almost the perfect UDL tool. And I know when we look at accessibility options next as well, that it really feeds into that. So this example uses an app called Book Creator, which is just fantastic and should just be on everyone's iPad in a school, I think. So we've used here one of the Tokaboka apps as the basis of a social story, and we're communicating to the students through visuals, text, and we can also record an audio track that reads the text for the student. So it has a simple, very simple interface. You can pick it up and just play with it and figure it out very easily. So it's accessible to students. And I think very importantly, it allows them to create their own content. And that's one of the things that we're finding with students these days, is importantly that they're not just consuming technology, that they're actually creating content as well. So there's multiple means of representation can be built into and featured so that a student is able to access the information in the manner that's most meaningful for them, whether it's through reading, looking at the pictures, or accessing the audio track that we've embedded in there. This next one, an app Notability, it's just so flexible. It's a great tool for students who perhaps struggle with some of the worksheet-based activities, which, are common in school. So with this app, a student is able to photograph or receive a PDF from the teacher of a worksheet or task that they need to do in school. But then they have the flexibility, especially for those students that may struggle with handwriting. This app allows them to either they can draw on the iPad screen in large text and then scale it down to move it around onto the page. They can put in a little text box as well if they want to just type in their answers, or they can, again, there's a little microphone icon up the top there. They can press record and they can record their answers for a worksheet. I just love how flexible it is and the variety of ways in which a student's able to engage in, a worksheet activity which might have been a bit of a barrier for them before. This app really provides them with a multiple variety of ways in which they can demonstrate their learning and understanding. So very flexible and adaptable to the needs of any student. So Notability, I highly recommend. And Craig's going to talk to us a bit about the accessibility features of iPads.
Thank you, Heath. Well, I've just seen Natasha's asked, what is Apple Pencil? So for newer iPads, probably in the last 2 years, but check with your local specialist, they can receive input from an Apple Pencil that Apple makes. It's like a sleek white pencil that is like a stylus that interacts with the screen, but it's very precise. So it's Apple's version of their stylus. Okay, we're in the last 10 minutes of the webinar. We're going to go through a few different things here. This is accessibility. I just want to talk about the iPad is so tailorable to different needs that kids might have, whether it's about physical input or about particular vision needs or hearing needs. It's very personalisable to where kids are. We don't have a chance, to go through all of the things that accessibility can do on the iPad, but it's certainly worth exploring. You just, on your home screen, you go to the Settings app, which is that great cog style app, and you go to the accessibility part in there. I'm going to show you two of my favourite accessibility features. One is Speak Screen. Yes, Karen, there are similar accessibility features on Android devices. Not exactly the same, but they do have their own style of accessibility. these are the ones on the iPad. So speak screen, you can turn that on, and it lets you tap the screen with 3 fingers, and it will read out anything that's on the screen. So if you've got an iBook open, or you've got a website, or you've got a particular app with text, speak screen will read out whatever's on the screen. And there's a little turtle, there's a rabbit, you can tap them to make the speaking slower or faster. It's really useful. I'm seeing some praise for guided access. Thanks, Bree. Yeah, guided access is another accessibility tool. It lets you restrict access to particular apps. So you might want to restrict the way that an app is used. You might want a student to use an app and not jump out of the app. You want them to stay in the app and focus on what's happening there. So you can set a timer to say, we're going to spend 10 minutes in this app before we do anything else. So it's a bit of a self-regulation trainer. It helps students to focus within one app, and you can turn on and off different parts of the app. It's just really great. Guided access is a really, really useful tool. I thought I'd mention too, I don't know if too many people will have explored this yet, but with the new update that has just launched in the past month for iPads and iPhones, so the new update is called iOS 12, and you just go into your settings and it will probably say to you there's an update ready, and you do the update, and as well as getting cool new emojis, you also get some new features like screen time. Oh, Emma's explored it. Screen time actually records how much time you spend in different apps, which can be very useful, but it also lets you regulate access to apps. So it lets you schedule downtime. So you might say after 7 o'clock each night, we are going to make it so that we're not going to use the iPad. It's just going to restrict access there, or sort of prompt you to not use it. You can set limits on particular apps. So you might say, like Suzanne has just said there, about how much you use Instagram. You might set a limit on that. You might be like 1 hour a day, and that's all that I'm going to allow myself. And you can put in a passcode, so you can restrict access to that unless you've got the passcode. It's really useful. A lot of parents have said to me how much they're enjoying it, so worth doing an update on your device to see that. We've got 5 minutes left. I just want to share quickly with you a few creative ways of using the iPad, and then a couple of resources to end on. So this is something that, I don't know how many of you have seen Sparrow. They have become quite popular. They're at every JB Hi-Fi that you walk into. Sparrow is a little robot ball, and it's controlled with the iPad. So this is a lesson that we do with our students where we get them to draw a map of the school. So they use this app called Paper, and they draw like a bird's eye view of the school. We walk around with the iPad sketching out the school. And then we say, well, how could we drive Sparrow around the school? And it can be a good way to get to know the environment they're in, to get to know where the canteen is or different playgrounds are. This is what Sparrow looks like. It's a little robot ball, and you drive it with the iPad. You can put it in paint, so you can drive around a big piece of paper or a canvas and do some Jackson Pollock painting. Melissa, we've got Sparrow written on the screen in case that's a help. And you can drive it around. You can do coding with Sparrow. It's a really useful little app. You can chuck it in water. It's very hard. It's a nice little accessory to use with the iPad. I'll put up Swift Playground on the screen. Swift Playground is a free coding app that Apple makes, and it's a game, but it teaches you actually how to code. So it actually teaches you how to make your own iPad app, which is really cool. So if you've got any kids out there who are interested in coding, definitely get them to jump into Swift Playground. I think coding is good for kids in general to learn problem-solving skills, how to break down big tasks into smaller tasks, and Swift Playground is just a really top-notch way of learning how to code. Couldn't help but put in Pokemon Go. I don't know. Well, I was actually in Sydney on the weekend, and I saw people walking around with their iPads and their iPhones still hunting Pokemon, so it's still happening. I don't know if anyone on here is a keen Pokemon Go player, but I love at how Pokemon Go showed everybody that you could have a game on your mobile technology that could take you out of the house. It could take you to the park. It could take you to places to learn, and there's so many people who made friendships, and there were different social clubs around Pokemon Go on their mobile devices. And, we did a lot of learning experiences where we had kids create nature journals, where we had this app called Level 23, Paul, that's pretty valid. Pretty valid. Nice work. This app is a Maziograph. It lets you create it lets you draw on one side of the screen, and it creates a symmetry of what you've drawn on the other side of the screen. And we got our kids to create little nature journals where we'd walk around the playground or walk around the streets near the school and find little bugs, like you would in Pokemon, but we found real bugs and we sketched them and made like a David Attenborough nature journal. So I love taking the iPad outside. It shouldn't be just something that's in the classroom or the home. It's such a great tool to walk around and do really good stuff with. We want to end just by sharing a few resources that you can further investigate things that are interesting to you or relevant to your student or child. A couple of websites here. I've put mine up there, not to be vain, but just because it does house resources specifically on this topic. So if you go to autismpedagogy.com, all of my books and downloadable resources and links to other blogs and just stuff that we've made over the years at school, a list of apps that we use in the classroom, it's all there on that website. It's all free. It's all just there to use. We've got the Apple Teacher website. Apple Teacher is a platform that teaches you how to use the iPad. So it teaches you the basics, through to fairly advanced things as well. But it's just a good, solid tool if you need some professional development around how to use the iPad. We've got a few books there. These are all free on the iBook store. The iPad Model Classroom, the Digital Organic, Minecraft in Your Classroom, Coding and Creating with iPads and Lego. These are great resources. They're books that Heath and I have written, but they're all on the topics that we've just talked about in case you want to get into some more interesting things there. Okay, iTunes U. iTunes U is a free app. So it's an app that you download on your iPhone or your iPad, and it's got free lessons from educational institutions all around the world. So it's got Harvard on there, it's got Oxford, it's got big institutions, but it also just has really interesting lessons that you can do with your iPad. If you search for autism or Autism Spectrum Australia in iTunes U, you'll find all these lessons that Heath and I have created around Anzac Day there, coding, Pokemon Go, emotional regulation. It's just got a lot of stuff that we have used. You'll go in more in depth in those free courses. So let's wrap it up. It's 8 o'clock. I know it's late. Well, 8 o'clock in New South Wales, not in Singapore, India, and Queensland and Western Australia. I think the iPad is such a powerful tool for engaging students, teaching them in a range of really creative ways. And there are just so many ways to address the different characteristics that our kids have as part of their profile. And there are as many different ways to use this tech as there are different kids. But remember, I know it sounds cheesy, but the most important act in a child's education is their family and their teachers. And it is just something that, it does add so much, but you are ultimately at the heart of it all. So thank you for the feedback in the text box. We've so much enjoyed having you. I'll pass back to Liz just to wrap us up.
Thanks, Craig. And can I echo the words in the text box? We're so blessed to have you and he, share your knowledge. I think we've all learnt things, not only for our students or for people that we may work with on the spectrum, but for ourselves as well. So thank you. Our website offers a range of courses for parents, as well as fact sheets and all of our workshop tools. You can see a link to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page has over 7,000 followers. On the Facebook page, you can find tips, information and chats regarding the supporting of school-aged children on the autism spectrum. We want this page to offer evidence-based resources about autism, inform people about positive partnerships workshops, and act as a forum for people to share their experiences of autism. We encourage you to leave comments, photos, videos and links there. We do review all posts and we'll remove any if we deem them offensive or inappropriate. Our next webinar is on wellbeing and resilience on the 13th of November. Now that you're on the webinar register, you'll automatically be notified of this webinar. Just before you sign off, can I ask, are there any groups of more than one listening at the computer or on the phone? If there are, can you type the number of people into the text box, please? Thanks for thanking us, everybody. It's fantastic to get that feedback and see that you've really enjoyed it. We've had a really busy hour and the boys have covered a lot of material. Thank you for participating. We look forward to you participating in our next webinar. The webinar will be left open for approximately 15 minutes. So if you'd like to scroll back through the text box for anything that was written down, it'll be available. Again, if there's more than one person at the computer you're listening from, can you just let us know how many in the text box? Craig's just posted the SurveyMonkey link. We'd really appreciate your feedback. That's what helps us to provide evidence-informed and information that's precise for you. So fill in the survey and we value your feedback. Thanks again, everybody.